and welcome to the Wise Owl Knits podcast. I'm outside today. It is November 21st and it is beautiful out today. So I meant to record a podcast last week and things got crazy and it didn't get done. Had a few extra dogs here and an extra person here, so we put that off, and I'm really so glad that I waited because it is gorgeous out today. I'm in my knitting pavilion. This is where I have knit night every Tuesday night. So tomorrow night, today's Monday, so tomorrow night we should be out here knitting, and that may be the last one of the season. We may have to be inside until next spring. So today I am wearing a sweatshirt, though I probably don't need a sweatshirt, and it is from Colby's Little Flower on Instagram. It says knit, pray, and don't worry, and that is a quote from, a changed quote from St. Padre Pio. His was pray, hope, and don't worry. But this is the knitting version of it, and one of my favorite sweatshirts. So Colby's Little Flower on Instagram. She's got lots of neat religious, specifically Catholic t-shirts and sweatshirts and hats and all kinds of things. So go check her out. And I've got behind me, though I'm not wearing it because it's a little bit little too warm for it today. This is the Slip Stitch Ruffled Shawl, and this is one of the first patterns that I did when I first started designing. This one is knit out of Noro yarn, which I think Noro Crayon or Crayon, however you pronounce it, but it's a self-striping yarn, and it works great with the slip stitches on this pattern. One of my gals in Knit Night is making it, and it reminded me that I hadn't talked about this pattern really in a long time. I realized that I've knit this 3 times. I knit this one. This is, I think, probably the third one that I knit. I knit one out of Noro that I gave to one of my neighbors, and then I knit another one out of Cascade's version of that yarn, and it was more in browns and tans and grays, so more neutral, and then knit this one. We had some yarn. That's my dog Barley barking. He probably saw a squirrel. We had some yarn donated to us, and there was a big stash of Noro in that, and one of my Knit Night ladies ended up using that on her shawl. So I'll try and get a picture of that and show it to you for the next podcast. But just a big rectangle. The slip stitches you wrap twice, and then on the subsequent 2 rows you just slip those stitches. So pretty easy pattern for beginners, and a great way to show off self-striping yarn. So if you've got some self-striping yarn in your stash and you don't know what to do with it, the Slip Stitch Ruffled Shawl is a good one. Well, I've got a couple of new cast ons. Yay! I've been itching to cast some things on and hadn't got it done. I've done a corner-to-corner blanket, and I will insert a picture of that here. And that is of a great big skein of Bernat, B-E-R-N-A-T yarn that I got at Meyer. Barley. Barley, come here. The squirrels, they're out there getting their acorns right now, so they're pretty active, and somebody has to protect the yard, and that would be Barley's job, so he is out there doing that. He normally naps, so hopefully he'll be back to napping soon. Otherwise, we'll just have a little serenade to go along with us. So anyway, the corner to corner blanket is knit the same way as the gals on Politically Correct Knitters had a half blanket challenge, or I'm not certain of the exact name, but they knit a blanket starting off with 3 stitches and then increasing 1 stitch every row until they got to 101 stitches and then went back the other direction. So I am doing that same thing with a bulky weight yarn, and I've been working on that sometimes at my office when times are slow, but it's such a thick yarn that it goes really quickly. So hopefully that will be done by the next podcast and I can show that to you. Now there are some other dogs in another yard barking, so they've got to talk back and forth. Okay, I've got another new cast on, and this is in one of the new bags that's on my website, the penguins, or not penguins, the puffins, and the puffins are all wearing cute little sweaters. So if you're a puffin fan, there are a few left on the website. This is my project that I'm making out of Ravolution yarn, and I know I've talked about it several times on the podcast and couldn't decide what to do with it, but I'm making a shawl that will be triangular in shape. It's almost all garter stitch, but where the 2 colors join, there is a cable. So a nice project for TV knitting. You only have to think like every other row, or every 4 rows you work a cable and you work an increase next to the cable. So you have to think every 4th row, but the rest of the time it's just garter stitch, you know, nice and squishy DK weight yarn, and that pattern will be available fairly soon once I get done knitting and get it all written down. It will be a short pattern though. It's pretty cut and dried, and just like I said, good TV knitting, good for when you don't need to concentrate much or don't want to concentrate much. Doctor's office, waiting to pick up kids in the carpool. So that is my new shawl, yet to be named. I'm not sure what it's going to be called, but we'll figure that out eventually. My hair is coming out of the little clip here. I was going to try and just keep it out of the way, but my hair does not like to cooperate. No matter what I do. You know, if you've got curly hair, you want straight hair. If you got straight hair, you want curly hair. I've got kind of curly hair, wavy hair on this side, straight hair on this side. So if I don't do much to it, like today, I washed it and dried it part way and pulled it back and went to work. So it always looks kind of okay when I first get to work, but by the time I leave, it always looks terrible. And I always wish that I would have done something more with it. What would I give to have hair that you could just wash and then it looked beautiful and you didn't have to think about it? I don't know, you know, it's not gonna happen, so that's just the way it is. So we'll move on from there. Got a couple of whips. I have got my Cozy Memories blanket, and we've just got one more square in this 4x4 or 16 block. So got to get working on that. I kind of put it aside to work on the shawl, but again, another project that is very addictive and nice to work on when you don't need to concentrate much. And I've got that in another one of my Emma Ball project bags. This one has this cute little pocket at the front, which is good for some of your notions or good for your phone. It's got this nice little handle so you can wear it when you're hiking. And I do, not so much when I'm hiking, because I think of hiking more as on the trails, and a lot of times you need to look for roots and acorns and things that you're stepping on, so not as good for knitting. But if I'm just going for a walk in the neighborhood, this bag is a good one to take along. So I've got that Cozy Memories blanket that is a work in progress. I've also got my other mitered square blanket, and I'll insert a picture of that here. Oh, you know what? I've got that one here with me. I was thinking that was at work. That's in the bigger Emma Ball bag. And again, it's basically the same as the Cozy Memories blanket, but I'm just using two colors. And I'm using a worsted weight yarn, so it's a lot. It gets bigger a lot faster because it's using bigger yarn, but it's basically the same thing. It's the exact same amount of stitches, so that is my second mitered square blanket. Not really a Cozy Memories, because this is not using leftovers, it's using yarn that I bought specifically for this. And again, in the Emma Ball bag. I have a Christmas stocking done. I have a couple of things left to do. I need to knit an I-cord for the hanger that will go right up there. I need to add the name, but the baby is not going to be here till November, so I don't know the name yet. But I will add the name using duplicate stitch. And so the name is 7 stitches tall, and it can be as much as 36 columns to make that name. So I've got a little chart that comes with the pattern, and you can chart that out ahead of time so you know if you need to make any adjustments in the width of the letters or anything like that to make the name fit. Tell your family, pick short names, no long names, because they just won't fit on the Christmas stocking. You might have to put their initials instead. So nice short names work good for the Christmas stockings. This is the Colorwork sampler stocking, and it's available on my website, and I've got some other Christmas stockings over there. But this is the one that I always use for my family, and I was telling the mother of the new baby, so she's my niece by marriage, so her mom, she's like, I can't believe you can make those. And I said, I've made this Christmas stocking so many times that I think I really pretty much have it memorized. I mean, I have to glance down at the charts a little bit, but not much. So the Colorwork sampler Christmas stocking is here. I did have a request recently. The heel is an afterthought heel, and you put in waste yarn and then you come back and pick up the stitches to work the heel. So I had a request for a tutorial on how to pick up the stitches from the waste yarn, how to transfer those stitches back onto the needle. So I have a quick tutorial on how to pick up the stitches, and I'm going to put that here, and then it will be on my Knitwise tutorial channel on YouTube. So if you ever want to go back and see it, you can find it on there. Today I am going to show you how to put an afterthought heel in a Christmas stocking. This Christmas stocking was knit as one long tube like this, and in this section here on both sides I put waste yarn so that I could add the heel after the rest of the stocking was knit. I do have another video that shows how to add the afterthought heel, but I don't have one on how to pick up the stitches from the waste yarn that is in where the afterthought heel is supposed to go. So today I am going to show you how to do that. And I've got, just because it is a little bit easier to see, I've got a swatch here with some waste yarn so that we can pick up stitches from those. There are 12 stitches of the afterthought heel, or 12 stitches in the waste yarn, and we're going to pick up starting here and then go all the way around. So what you do at the beginning is go into the forwardmost leg of the first stitch, then we'll skip the second leg, and then we go under and pick up the first leg of the second stitch. And we'll do that all the way across here. Again, we're just going into the first leg of each stitch, and we're going from underneath the leg and then up through the center of the stitch. Just a few more to go here, and then we'll start going the other direction. Now we've got them all on here. There should be 12 stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay. So I'm going to just leave those stitches on the cable, and then we're going to come around and do that on the other side. Okay. So on this, we look at the stitches a little bit differently, and we're still going to pick up the first. Now we're going to pick up the second leg of each stitch on this one. So that would be the front leg, this would be the second. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and again we're coming from the bottom, coming underneath the stitch and then out. So that should be our 12th stitch. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and pull this through so that the stitches are just on the cable. And then we're going to pull out the waste yarn. You can do that with your fingers. You can use the end of your knitting needle. You can use a tapestry needle to pull them through. You can cut it after you're part way so you don't have to pull as much yarn through. But you can see then once you pull that out, then the stitches are living on the needle. almost to the end here. Okay, now we've got all of our stitches on, and we would begin knitting the heel in the round from those stitches. Now on the Christmas stocking, there's, like I said, 36 stitches on each side, so you could use a 16-inch circular until that got until you did enough decreases that you needed to move to double points or flexi flips or magic loop. But you just start knitting the stitches, and as you can see, they are oriented correctly, where the front leg of the stitch is closer to the end of the needle than the back leg of the stitch. If somehow you picked them up and they were the other direction, if they were twisted like this, where the back leg is closer to the front of the needle, then you can either flip them around or you could knit into the back of the stitch. And that is how you pick up stitches from waste yarn for an afterthought heel. Well, if you haven't picked up stitches before from waste yarn, I hope that little demonstration kind of clears up how to do it. It's not hard, and if you mess up, if you get the stitches oriented backwards where the front leg of the stitch is not the leg that's closer to the end of the needle, then you can either knit into the back of those stitches rather than the front, or you can twist them as you come to them. If for some reason you don't get them all picked up, you miss one, you can kind of figure that out as you're taking out the waste yarn, and you can get a little locking stitch marker and grab whatever stitch you missed and then add that back to the needle when you get to that stitch. Also, the points here on each corner of the heel, if you want to pick up a couple extra stitches there to close up any holes that might come in between the two sides, that's always a good idea. I don't always do that. It kind of just depends on how things look when I'm starting my first round of knitting. But if I feel like adding an extra couple of stitches there and then decreasing quickly on those would help close up any holes, I often do that. So that is my little demo on how to pick up stitches from waste yarn for an afterthought heel. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you think that's helpful or not. Next up is just a little personal stuff. My husband has been on a really cleanup type mode, going through a lot of our stuff and getting rid of things that we don't need, and just kind of general cleaning out. And as he was down in our basement near the area where all my old family photos are, he found this little collage of pictures that's from my dad. My dad is at the front of this little black and white. He is leading a church camp hiking on the Appalachian Trail, which is where I got my love of hiking. So this used to hang in my dad's office, and I hadn't seen it for a while, though I definitely remember it. I must have gotten it out of the box and set it on top of something, and then it didn't get put back in. And you know how basements are, they get pretty dirty. So it was all dusty, and he found it and cleaned it all up, and he had been in a framing shop for another reason, but he took this in with him and had them clean up all the edges, so I think I'm going to frame it and put it in my office. Gosh, what else do I have? I still haven't finished my book on the Fed, the monster of Jekyll Island, or something sort of like that. I think I'm listening to it on Audible, and it was about a 30-hour book, and I think I've got about 6 hours left to go, so I'm trying to plug away through that. It's kind of textbookish, so it's not that it's not interesting, but it just doesn't flow as well as a lot of novels do, where you just want to keep going. You can listen to it for a while, and then you need to take a break and listen to other things. So that's what I'm listening to now. I've got a couple other things started, but haven't really gotten into them too much yet. So hopefully I can get through this one before the next podcast, and I can move on to something fun that I can tell you about. That's what I have for you today. Sorry the lighting is a little bit funny because I'm outside and I know I've got lots of shadows on me, but I was at first oriented the other way because there are some beautiful leaves at my neighbor's house, and I'll insert that picture. But when I was facing that direction, it just blew out everything behind me, and it did look yellow, but it just looked like a big yellow blur. So this is my backyard behind me, and now Barley's laying there all so quietly, still looking at the backyard, but there must not be any squirrels there bothering him right now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope to see you again soon. Bye.